All right, we have one question left, and I think it's a pretty hopeful one. How do we reach out to Generation Z, who have grown up with the regressive left as the establishment?
This is right up my alley. So the freshman class that we just imported in this year, and I think a few of the freshmen from last year's the sophomores now, they would be what are considered Generation Z. So I think we have probably some over at the table. There's a lot of studies that really talk about why Generation Z is far more conservative than I think any generation since World War II has said fiscally. But I think it's important to understand how to reach them, and I think that the best way that we should go about reaching them is through social media. It's really that easy. I mean, campaigns are won and lost by memes sometimes these days, it seems. So I think that if you're going to really run a successful campaign to reach Generation Z, you need to be able to reach them through effective social media campaigns and effective social media strategies. And I think that it's also important to be making sure that campaigns are bringing in specifically people for that role of running social media and making sure that they're being able to win over that generation, as well as it's very popular social media. Just a side note with the 25, 35, 40-year-olds today. So,
you know, I agree with him. I think that that's exactly the right route to reach out to this new generation. But I also think another way we can do it is by looking at the record. Look at, you know, what the progressive Democrats have done, which is either A, nothing, or B, you know, look at everything they've done. Look at Obamacare, look at how it was a failure. Look at how when you were growing up in 2008, how your family would tell you, oh, we're not going to be able to afford this because of this. You know, we can't afford it because of the Great Recession. We can't afford this. You have to cut back, or you have to be told, oh, sorry, no Christmas presents this year. No birthday presents, or, you know, we have to move, or we have to, you know, we can't go shopping at Market Basket anymore because, you know, we have to get food stamps, so we have to go to the, you know, the food pantry. You know, it's stuff like that, you know, that you can really reach out to them on a personal level because they've been through the Great Recession. That's when they grew up. That's the most the years that caused the most formation. You know, those are the things you learn and you grow with your entire life, such as the people who grew up during the Great Recession, the Great Depression back then. They ended up voting for Eisenhower in the 1950s, he didn't repeal all of that, all of the FDR, great, New Deal. He didn't repeal it, but he gave a different conservative approach, and now they're starting to age out, and their kids became really, Democrats like the hippies, and they voted for LBJ, and they voted for, Carter. But, I think there's hope for this new generation. I think they're going to see, the mistakes of the past, and I think that, honestly, they're going to go for a more limited government, more freedom, less taxes approach, the conservative way.
I'm going to pass on this question because I'm really kind of an extremist. I have this extreme idea about looking at people as individuals rather than classifying them or whatever. And I don't particularly like when people have classified me as part of the OF generation.
I agree, Al. I like seeing people as who they are. I am not someone who's Irish, French, or American. I am John. But on a different note, I'm actually someone who's 25, so I am a millennial. So pretty close to Generation Z. I'm actually against memes. I think they don't tell the full story. I know that a lot of people in my generation and younger love memes because they can kind of encapsulate a very concise story. But for me, it can be very biased, and you can put anything into a meme. So to kind of answer the question, I think that we should move more towards telling stories. So when I first like I guess, like we're talking about myself, I gave you a story about my background. I think telling those kind of stories can help people understand why certain policies are more superior, or I guess more morally superior than other ones. Education is huge, and that's why for me I want to go into economics and do research and also get a PhD, is because today we're told FDR was the best president. I believe he's ranked third as the best president by historians. I think it's a bunch of crap. I think he's the worst president by far. People don't realize that Medicare is actually decreasing the quality of healthcare. So is Medicaid. Most people, I was on Medicaid as a child. I couldn't see a primary care physician because they did not take Medicaid because the reimbursement rates are so low. In New Jersey, only 40% of primary care physicians take Medicaid because, again, the reimbursement rates are so low. So I think giving these facts for a different thing during FDR's time, Social Security. People don't realize that what you pay into it is not what you get back. It's a total, I hate using this phrase, but it is a total Ponzi scheme. You get paid back the actuarial values of what the government decides. So if I'm with, my best friend is Bengali, he's from Bangladesh. Because I, as a Caucasian, have a longer life expectancy than he does, if he pays more into it than I do, I still get more because I have a longer life expectancy. That to me is unfair. But that is how it was written in the Act of 1935. Same thing for females. We're still living in this archaic age where females were thought to not work and they're living off of their husbands. That is not true today, obviously. Females get about 70 cents to the dollar of what men get for social benefits, even if they pay more into the system than males do. So to me, I think providing these facts to them and showing them with some economic research, they'll be more prone to understand that these things that they advocate for on the left are actually counterintuitive and they're going against what they preach of this whole equality and social justice type thing. And to go back to our passion, I think we've lost the passion that we had for liberty back in 1776, and a lot of us here have it for sure, but I think Generation Z needs to kind of get that back and be more involved and see their right to liberty as a duty as well as a right to have it. So that's what I think about that question.
Thanks, John. So I'm not sure why this generation is called Generation Z, but we've been hiring a lot recently in my company, and we don't say Generation Z, we say Generation E for entitled. There is a belief right now, a lot of kids who we're interviewing, that they have rights to certain things. One of the astonishing things about it is that I had a kid ask me in an interview, can I go home every day at 5?
What?
And I said, well, you can go home when the job's done for the day. And so, if you work really hard and you're done with what you're supposed to do, at 5, yeah, we go home. On the other hand, we're offering kids out of college, the line of work I do, I'm a software engineer, we're offering kids 6-figure salaries, right? Out of college. And the kid wants to ask me if he can go home at 5 o'clock. It was astonishing to me. And there's no better example of that than when you hear these kids say, healthcare is a right. And now obviously in this room, that's a crazy idea, right? Because your healthcare is provided by somebody else's labor. I talked about the idea of self-ownership. Nobody else ever has a right to your labor, and you never have a right to somebody else's labor. When we talk about how we're going to communicate these ideas, these precious ideas of liberty, we have to look at what's happened to our society, okay? There's nobody in this room, and I feel confident about this, who is against charity, against the idea that when you see somebody down on their luck, if you've got a chance to help them out, to give them an opportunity, you would leap at that. But what's happened now is that our government is systematically disenfranchising us from the idea that we take care of each other. When Michael Bloomberg made it illegal for restaurants to give their food at the end of the day to homeless shelters, he didn't do that because it was a safety issue. The food that they were serving 5 minutes ago did not magically become inedible 5 minutes later. He did it because he doesn't want private citizens to be in the charity business. He wants people to be dependent on government. He wants people to feel entitled to government services. And the way that we fight that is we beat the government at its own game. And that's a tough order, because it means that we have to be more charitable. It means that we have to be the model of the services that we want to be. So, I don't know what your favorite charities are. I'll tell you, I got 3. Feeding America is critical to me. 1 out of every 5 children in the United States is food insecure. The government isn't fixing it, but you can fix it. You want to do it today? Send a $10 donation to Feeding America. Effort. They give donations. Sometimes they'll give they'll give farm animals to farmers in the United States so that they can increase their crops. A simple thing. You can contribute $20 with each of your friends, buy a cow for a poverty level farmer in the United States. But it's got to be us. We have to prove to Generation E that they're not entitled to services from government. Maybe, if they prove that they want to be part of our community, we're willing to help them out. We just have to say that they're not entitled to it.
It's very good about the entitled. I have a 23-year-old son. I had to help him set up his thermometer this weekend in his house. So if we talk about Generation Z, as a Campaign for Liberty guy, I really want to try to train young activists. I want to give them the tools so they can succeed, because they're going to know how to use Snapchat and Instagram and Pinterest better than I do, and whatever comes along next. I can point to the example of Dan, who worked with me on 2 local campaigns. Did you learn a lot there, Dan? No. Yeah. So the point I'm making is you can learn from your own mistakes, or you can be a genius and learn from the mistakes of others. And so I'm trying to pass it along and go that route. When I ask what the top issue is, a bunch of people in this room have a bunch of different top issues, and it's important for us to find that top issue to get across from that person how important it is that they vote our way and go our way. And I think the way to do that is liberty is popular. There's a liberty angle on pretty much every issue out there, and it's up to us to find the hot button issue for that person and then give them the liberty issue, the liberty angle, so that they come our direction. So my goal is to give people the tools to succeed and pass it along. I believe in a model called confrontational politics, where everybody who gets involved in politics has 2 choices. They can either choose to be someone or do something. You can be someone who begs for access to the politicians. You can be someone who gets invited to country club parties and cocktail parties. Or you can actually do something with your life. It's not easy fighting upstream. It's not easy going against the establishment. But if you really want to make a difference and you believe in policy, you probably won't be recognized for it, but you know you're going to look in the mirror and say you did a good job the next day. So I try to promote confrontational politics and train others, and I invite everybody to get to Campaign for Liberty and sign up for emails and just get involved. Thank you very much.